your mind.
Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And myself, Stephen George. Thankfully that the technical glitches are out of the way at the beginning of the show.
It'll all come out on the edit, as we always say. Right, it's Sunday the 1st of October 2017. Good evening. How are you doing? Right, okay, now, we have a packed show, we have a few things to say. We have a great guest on, a lady called Alba Weinman. But she was trained by Dolores Cannon, and she's done many of the training courses in this area of hypnosis. So we'll talk to Alba in a few minutes. But we have a few things to talk about, and we will go over and find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, communication channels are...
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Open Your Mind Radio, OYMradio.com is the website. We have the chat room on the website there. If you want to ask questions for our guest this evening or just chat quietly amongst yourself, OYMradio.com. You will see the links for the chat room, the anti-social media, Facebook, the Twitter, YouTube, and the email. As we have said before, if you want to drop us an email, just info@oymradio.com, just to let us know that you're tuning in. Maybe you're a first-time listener, maybe you're a long-time listener and you've never contacted us. Just fire us off a quick one, because we like to know that people are tuned in. We also have People's Internet Radio as well. Big hi to everyone logged into both of the chat rooms, actually. So PIR, if you want to pop a question in there as well for our guest this evening, that was also much appreciated. What else we got? We have the usual links on the website there, including the TuneIn Radio application for your smartphone or your iPhone. You can download that. It's a free application, and you can listen to us 24 hours a day, the live show and the podcasts.
Brilliant stuff. And just to say there that, I'm still getting over the flu. I still have a bit of a cough. It's hanging on, won't go away. So I apologise if I cough in the background. Nothing I can do, I'm afraid. It's just the way it is. Right, okay. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that later. Yeah, okay. We'll put that on. But Steve's going to kick us off on the first thing on the list.
Yes, first thing on the list is the Pain Genie Energy Medicine Level 2 training course on the 20th and 21st of October 2017. It's going to be in Birmingham Buddhist Centre and Cosmetology Workshop on the 22nd of October. So if you're interested, log on to Pain Genie website then. It's paingenie.com, and you can check out how to get tickets and how to avail of the course.
Brilliant stuff. Right, okay, now, people probably heard about Bus Éireann and the chaos that is Bus Éireann. Bus Éireann is a semi-state transport company in Ireland, and it's having major issues. Now, chances are what people are talking about, and it doesn't surprise me with our government, is that they're going to try and privatise Bus Éireann, so they have to run it into the ground first. And there's been chaos over the last 2 weeks of things that have been going on. They've changed the routes and changed the drivers, and so much chaos going on with Bus Éireann. It's unbelievable. And so, the general consensus is that the government want to get rid of it. And one of the things that the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds apparently said was, don't own anything but control everything. Doesn't surprise me. Outsource everything so they can control it, but they don't own it. They don't have the liability, it being a semi-state body. So it doesn't surprise me. So apparently there's going to be a strike in October. I don't know whether it's going to go ahead. The drivers are up in arms over things as well. So just to let you know, if you have any news about it, just email us and let us know. I'd be interested if you have any inside information as to what's going on. If that kind of confirms what they're thinking, that they're trying to outsource it, or they're trying to sell it on, privatise it, and this is why they're doing what they're doing. But if you have any news, let us know. Steve?
Yeah, we have some news in from BBC.com. It seems families with children who've been harmed by the epilepsy drug sodium valproate are demanding a public inquiry and compensation, saying they have been left with no help. They voiced their anger outside a London hearing that is assessing if warnings for patients are adequate. It is thought thousands of children in the UK have been left with disabilities caused by valproate since the 1970s. Mum Emma Friedman says she wasn't fully informed of the risks. Her son Andrew, now 18, has severe autism and other problems, including hearing and sight problems. Emma was taking the drug when she got pregnant and continued using it. It carries a 10% risk of physical abnormalities and a 40% risk of autism, low IQ and learning disabilities.
Now, that's been put out there since the 70s, Steve. So then you have to ask the question about when people say autism is kind of a defect from birth.
Yeah.
But if that's been out there in the 70s and it's caused autism and it's a vaccine, or, well, it's a tablet for epilepsy.
And 40%, I mean, a 40% chance of risk, that's very high.
That's very high. So, you know, is there any other drugs out there over the last few years, from the 70s, 60s, that actually cause the same symptoms? We have to ask yourself that.
I'd say there's a lot more than that.
You know?
A hell of a lot more. And the fact that I think you said to me only recently that the packaging has changed on was it this particular drug where they're now saying since about only a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Did you say 2014? They've got this information on the front of the packet to warn people.
I think it was last year.
Last year,
only last year, yeah.
Too little, too late, I think.
You know, so again, folks, you have to be asking the doctors for the pill, which is the information that comes with the actual medication, the tablets, and have a look at the side effects, because we know they're not side effects, they're effects. It's not worth it putting your children at risk or if you're pregnant, you know, the fetus. Very, very important to do your checking. Anyway, how's your week, Steve?
My week is fine. The usual mix of this, that and the other. A bit of work thrown in there as well. The highlight of my week, was yesterday. We had two kind of first yesterday, and I have to say it was a pleasure and a privilege to witness both of them. One was myself and Alan stripped an electrical piece of equipment, the lawnmower. We stripped it. We got down and dirty.
It's like shed and buried, wasn't it?
It's like I've never seen the program, but we actually got down and dirty with a lawnmower. We stripped an engine and had some fun poking about with various parts and plugging it in and playing with it and putting it all back together again. So that was quite enjoyable. And we also done a recording yesterday with a judge, the first time we've actually had someone kind of from the legal profession on the show. So I mean, that's a podcast to watch out for. It should be coming up in the next couple of weeks. But he really kind of got down and dirty, he did, and gave us some great information and some new buzzwords to look up and check out, and some great information as to how to kind of claim your birthright and avoid certain things. I have to say, really mind-blowing stuff. He said he would send over some templates and all. So yeah, look forward to that. What else have we got? Grounding. We had a video that was kind of floating around YouTube a couple of years back called Grounded, and we watched it at the time, and it was very, very powerful stuff in relation to grounding. Well, the man who was responsible for kind of kicking that off, Clint Ober, he's actually done a shorter video, and it's I can't think of the name, but I'll get the name and I'll pop it up in the chat room. But he's done a shorter video, just 15 minutes long, again packed full of information detailing the benefits of grounding, and some people from medical professions on there saying that you don't have to be out knee deep up to your knees in muck in the garden. It's simple. Just kick off your shoes, walk in the grass barefoot for a couple of minutes, or as long as you like, or just go out and hug a tree. Well, not really hug a tree, but just, grasp a tree or a leaf or a branch or something, and it's equivalent to being earthed. You can also get earth wires where you can actually plug it into a ground rod out in the soil, and then just connect it to your bed or to yourself, and seemingly the benefits are absolutely fantastic. It's something that we haven't done in many moons since kind of shoes were invented, because ever since we've been wearing shoes, we are insulated from the earth, and our predecessors and forefathers, they would have kind of walked on the earth, and seemingly they didn't have half as many problems as we do. So yeah, if you want to kind of help yourself with your balance your electrons in your body, so they say, then you need to kick off the shoes and walk barefoot in the grass. Check it out anyway. I'll get the name of this other video. I'll actually put the two of them up in the links there in the chat box, and you can check them out. But definitely, I'm going to be doing it anyway. I don't care if it's raining, doesn't matter. But yeah, that's it. That's the highlights of my week. How's yours?
Right, okay, just a few things before we bring our guest in. Just a couple of things. Now, during the week, people on Facebook would have seen I posted up. I'm no green fingers, but you know I was growing a bit of veg, cabbage, carrots, and spring onions, just experimenting, giving it a go with the raised bed that I built. Well, the good news is that I pulled the carrots out and we cooked them, and they were really, really tasty. Nothing like what you would get in the Super Value or the Tesco's. The one thing I did notice about the carrots, Steve, is that I could smell them.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be on top of them to smell them. You could actually smell them. Where when you buy carrots in one of the chain stores, you can't smell anything unless you get on top of the bloody
That's obviously because
food.
they're sprayed so full of all this crap
Yeah.
to prolong them and keep them so-called fresh.
And they really tasted nice and sweet and everything else.
Yeah.
And the family loved it. So I'll be doing more of that. Now, I planted them late, but obviously for next year, I'll plant them a bit early. And I will do things a bit different this time. I might video myself doing it just to show you what I'm doing. But yeah, definitely, grow your own food, guys. It's definitely a must. Now, the other thing is, the OYM supporters group, we were debating as to where that will be set up, because the current system we weren't really happy with it. So we ended up, unfortunately, we've decided to set up the OYM supporters group on Facebook. And I know not everybody is on Facebook, but to be honest with you, it was the best platform and the easiest platform to use, but it's a closed group. And how it works basically is that if you are a member of the supporters group, you have to go to the OYM website, read the guidelines, have a look at the fluid belief system, and if you agree with all of that and you're happy with all of that and you sign up on the website, then you can join the actual supporters club, the supporters group. So it's set up on Facebook. Now, for people who don't have Facebook, to be honest with you, you don't really have to. You just have to set up an account. If you want to be part of the supporters group, or you already are, but you don't have Facebook, just sign up to Facebook and have a link to the supporters group, and that's it. Don't do anything else, but we'd like to get the kind of group together and get the group organised, so then we can start having video chats and stuff like that, and organising stuff with the actual supporters group. So it'd be great if you could do that. Now, let me see what else on the list. Right, one more thing on the list. We've also, if you go over to the OYM Radio Facebook page, today I've managed to set up the OYM Radio Live link on the left-hand side on a menu. So if you go over to Open Your Mind Radio Facebook page, on the left-hand side there's an option saying OYM Radio Live. If you go over there now and click on it, you'll actually hear us now live. When the live show finishes, then it'll go back to playing the podcast that we have on the list. So if you do have Facebook and you don't need to go off to the website to listen to the stream, you can actually do it on Facebook now. So it's all set up there. Give it a go, see how you get on. Right. Without further ado, we're going to get our guest on. It's a lady called Alba Weinman, and before we bring Alba in, we're just going to get Steve's going to give us a rundown on her bio.
Okay, Alba is trained by well-known hypnotherapist Dolores and Aurelio Mejia. Alba calls her own regressive hypnotherapy technique the spiritual journey of forgiveness. She facilitates her sessions in English and Spanish and guides her clients to past lives, connects with their higher self to get answers to questions, and frees the soul of emotional burdens. She is spiritually awakening others around the globe via YouTube by allowing them to witness some of her hypnosis sessions and see the possibilities of how this technique can help them with all areas of their lives.
Fantastic. Good evening, Alba. How are you doing?
How are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Excuse me, I have this cough, as I say, apologies for it. Thanks a lot for coming on to the show. As we said before we went live, I came across your video on YouTube and of you doing the hypnosis with a few of your customers, your clients, and I was fascinated by the information that they were coming back with, because as we talked about earlier, Michael Newton, who did the 2 books, talked about tapping into the superconscious and where do you go when you die in between lives and all that kind of stuff. The other thing I was fascinated with was the fact that you could actually, if somebody had an ailment, there was an energy that was attached to people, and you could actually talk to this energy and remove the energy, which was something that I've never seen and never come across. So before we really get into things, do you want to add any information? Because I know, on your bio here, you were trained by Dolores Cannon, but as you said, you've done a hell of a lot more training, not just with Dolores Cannon. So do you want to tell us a bit more about that first?
Sure. When I first started doing hypnosis, I did take the Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique course, which is abbreviated QHHT. And after that, I ran across some videos online, which were in Spanish only. This was Aurelio Mejia, who is a Colombian hypnotherapist, and he had hundreds and hundreds of videos online of his technique. And I realized that there was more to what we can do in a hypnosis session. So once I started watching him and I started doing some more stuff, I realized that I needed a lot more training because he was doing hypnotherapy. And in our state of Florida, you cannot perform hypnotherapy without being certified. So I had to become a certified hypnotherapist. And I learned a lot more. And I continue learning. I don't stop learning because you can't. There's just too much to learn in this field.
It's, the information that comes back from the people, and I think even they're amazed at the information that comes back. So let's get talking about this, because the information, one of the things I said I want to ask you when we go live, and it's a question that I think a lot of people would probably ask the same question. Let's start off with things, the common denominator with a lot of people, because there might be conflicts of interest. I'm sure you've come across them, one person saying one thing, another person contradicting it. But let's start off with the common denominators. Out of all the people that you've actually regressed, what things were very common throughout most, if not all, of the clients?
Well, after you transition out of your body, you do go back to a place, and they all seem to have the same description. It all seems to be some sort of a white place. Some people describe it rooms, like school rooms. Others like kind of like a chamber, like a judge's type chamber, with very, very loving beings that we call the council. And people go there and they meet with their guides and their council and they review what happened in their past life. So that's what I see in most of my sessions.
Okay, and obviously normally when people die and they pass over, that would be something that a lot of people would talk about, or maybe an NDE. But the fact that this is kind of voluntary, would there still be kind of assessment of how they are doing at the moment on the earth?
Oh yeah, I would think so, because your guides are always with you. You're never, ever, ever by yourself. So you're always being guided constantly. You're always being checked on. And at night when we sleep, we're doing work all the time. If you ask for it, in fact, you will be. You can accelerate the learning in your sleep. So in the sleep, we're still going to the same place where we go to when we die anyway. So you're meeting with your counsel, you're learning new things. Okay, how can I improve this? How can I do that? And that's really, this happens lifetime after lifetime.
Right. Okay. And have you seen a difference in your clients when they wake up and they listen back to what they've heard? And I mean, fundamentally, has it changed their lives? Yes.
Even the ones that I've had on myself, people have done on me. It is a life-changing experience. You can't really describe it unless you have it, but you see things from a different perspective. You feel more at peace. You understand things better. It's just it just changes your life. It really does.
It's just amazing. We had, as I said earlier, we had a lady on our show, Dr. Diane Cochran, who actually spoke to thousands of people who've had NDEs. And a lot of them people were, well, I won't say a lot, but quite a few were atheists. And when they come back from the NDE, they actually become spiritual. Is there any clients that you've had that were kind of very skeptical and said, oh, well, I'll do it because my friend told me I should do it. And then they do it, and they come back and go, oh, my God.
Well, I don't like to take clients that don't know what I do, because there's too many people wanting to see me. So if they don't know what they're getting into, I really don't like to take those clients. They could go to a different hypnotherapist for that. But with me, the people who come usually have a good idea of what they're coming for. But unless you go through it, you don't experience it. And yes, I've had several that are just, their minds have been blown. In fact, I had one in New Zealand just last month. This man had never seen a video of mine, and he was told, to do this, just like you said. And the session was so amazing. My mouth was open the whole time. It was just one of those sessions that he couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe it was happening. They will not be posted on YouTube either. But he basically had his third eye open. He had all of his DNA changed, and he basically left as a different human being than when he came in.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So that's one of those mind-blowing things. He wasn't an atheist, but he didn't really kind of believe that things could be different. So when it did change, oh my God, it was fantastic.
Wow, I could put a line of people up that could actually go to you because they need changing. That's on a different note. So they go into this room, and obviously they're seeing how they get on, because we always hear that this planet or this life, because we're spiritual beings experiencing life in physical form, and this is a school, and it's a school for learning. And the whole idea of having multiple lives is that we each life we learn. We decide on the soul contract before we come down on what we're going to be doing in this life, and then we do what needs to be done. Do you kind of agree with that kind of process?
Yes, absolutely. And, for example, one of my lessons that I had to learn here was patience. And I was always a very impatient person. And everybody who pushed my buttons really pushed my buttons as far as patience was concerned. And I do automatic writing, so I was privy to that information as to why I was here. But they told me you have to learn patience, and what I do now takes the ultimate in patience. I mean, I have to sit with the client for 4 hours and, do these sessions, and it is a very patient process. But I couldn't be doing what I am doing now had I not learned that patience. Okay.
And do you find that the people that you regress, for myself and Steve on this journey here now, Open Your Mind Radio, and it's spooky how myself and Steve got together, right? I mean, well, it wasn't spooky, it was all planned, right? And I've been told it was all planned. Trust me, it was all planned.
Yes.
It was all project managed. Now, do you find that we do have an awakening? We all have to have an awakening. We have a journey, and we have to take this path to the journey where we have to get to. And that could be the awakening of who we are, what we are, the meaning of life, and all that kind of stuff, which a lot of people don't query or don't ask, and they just plod along in life, and then maybe the next life they'll wake up to it. Do you feel that with all the work that you've done with your clients, that the common denominator also is all about waking up to who we are and what we are?
Well, that's my mission in life. I signed up for it, and I guess this is what the YouTube videos are all about, is awakening humanity, because this is a very important time right now, and people do have to wake up. So a lot of these videos are doing it automatically. People are stumbling across them and finding them, and oh my God, they've discovered something new. And people are constantly waking up around the world just by watching them. I'm not telling them to wake up. it's just happening automatically just by them witnessing this. So this is a very, very important time on Earth right now, and we have to wake up. We have to wake up. So it is happening.
And what are you hearing? Have you heard any information through the hypnosis, with information coming back from these people that they're seeing, whether it's their guides or whatever, and is there information coming back and confirming this or telling you information of what's going on or what's coming down the line or why we have to wake up?
Oh, yeah. Right now, Gaia, Earth, is transitioning herself. She's going to a new density, to a new dimension, and we got to go with her. We have to go with her because we're part of Gaia. So we have to move along too in order to be catching up with her. So there's a lot of shifting of vibrations. There's a lot of consciousness shifts that are going on right now, and this is all part of Mother Earth waking up, to a new dimension. So, or not waking up, growing up to a different dimension. So we're part of it. We're part of this whole plan. We all signed up for this at this time. We're all here because we signed up for this.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because we did a talk a couple of weeks ago at the Basis conference in Dublin, and we have another talk next year in March. And one of the things we talk about is the rise in consciousness as we learn, as we step outside the matrix, and we start learning and opening up and experiencing and realizing the way the system is. And one of the things that we've said from a very spiritual person who said it to us, that our role in life, everybody's role in life, is to move away from ego and ignorance and move towards humility and wisdom. And if everybody had humility and wisdom, then I'm not saying it's going to be utopia, but it'd be like adults rather than dealing with children.
Yeah, I don't like the word humility. That almost makes it like you're being subservient. I like just being kind to others, being of service to others. I think that is more of a proactive approach. If you see something and you could do something, do it for somebody. Help them, and and you can start it, and the more you do, the more other people around you will learn from you too. So just being kind to others, I think, is the most important thing.
Yeah,
starting with everything. I mean, everything. Being kind to an insect, being kind to an animal, being kind to a human being, everything. Being kind. Your children. Don't hate your children. Don't yell at your children. I mean, this is what being kind is all about.
Well, we totally agree with the service to others. I mean, that's what myself and Steve agree with. And the energy that you get from helping people in a purely unselfish way is fantastic. So we totally kind of promote that, and we say that to people, that it's very important, because it is all about taking care of yourself and helping others, service to others. Now, what will happen to the people who are not resonating on the frequencies? I mean, you know who they are. They are the people who are just the psychopaths and everything else. What's going to happen if Gaia is moving to this higher density or this different dimension?
Well, they'll just go into another transition into their own type of reality. There is no death. We if you want to think about it, we die every night when we go to sleep, in a way. There is no death, so these people are going to transition to their own type of reality. We will transition to the Gaia that has a nicer reality.
Okay, so can I
if you want to make it simple like that.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, okay, say we have multiple dimensions, and we all vibrate on a certain resonance or frequency. Are you saying that you will go to the dimension that you resonate on, and you will be with the same kind of people who resonate with your frequency?
You're doing it now. It's happening now. When you are in a certain reality in your own life, you can tell whether you're on board or not. People are nicer. People are kinder. You don't run into the crazy people if you're in that mental state. But when you wake up and you decide that today is going to be a bad day, everything is nasty. Everybody cuts in front of you, and you acknowledge rude people because you are mirroring these people. You're in that reality. So we do it every day anyway. You just notice the people who are around you now.
Okay. So, okay, that's interesting. Now,
Yeah.
what about Dolores Cannon's? I have to refer to Dolores because she talked about this, the new earth,
Yes.
the vision of the old earth and the new earth. Can you tell us anything about that?
It's happening now. That's what I was just talking about. Right now, people are already experiencing the new earth. Things are changing. You notice things are different. Things may be going easier than they were before. You may be enjoying your job a lot more. You're meeting people that are much nicer. That's part of being on the new earth. It's already the beginning of noticing these changes.
Right. Okay. I just kind of avoid the nutters, myself and Steve, as best we can. And, I think because of our own awareness, and maybe that's what it is, because we have kind of become aware of certain energies with people, you tend to try to kind of take a step back and go, well, I'm not going down that road because, I'm not going over there because that person is just not vibrating on the same frequency. And I think that's fair enough. I think we all experience that.
And you will notice that things are happening faster. For example, manifesting things. The moment you think about something, it becomes real to you. We are accelerating our abilities to manifest as gods and goddesses. So things will happen that you go, I just thought about that the other day, and all of a sudden it's here. How did that happen? Because we're manifesting more. This is our abilities as gods to do this. So, you'll start noticing that you are changing yourself too.
Okay, let's get back to the regression and the entities that I think people need to know about this. Now, I mentioned the book Michael Newton regarding doing the same thing that you did. He did the same thing, and you talked about going back into the superconscious. And he mentions, I think in the book, that where people, I have a family member, for example, who suffers from migraines, and they wouldn't be open to hypnotherapy. They're not on that level at the moment. But you might find somebody that has migraines and they get regressed, and if somewhere down the line in the past life they got speared in the eye or something, or an arrow in the eye, and that what would you say, that pain or that energy or that karma, I suppose, is carried over in the life that they're in now, and it can be healed. And then you find that when they come out after they've been regressed, they come, oh, that pain's gone, I'm not getting that pain anymore. Now, I noticed that when you are talking to, and I found this very interesting, that you were actually speaking to the entities that attached themselves to people, which was the pain. And you could actually speak to them and then clear them. Do you want to, because for people who haven't seen your videos, do you want to explain what that is all about?
Sure. Well, when you're living your life normally, you have belief systems, okay? And this was portrayed very well in a movie, What Dreams May Come, with Robin Williams a long time ago. So whatever you're thinking about in your day-to-day life about death is really what you're creating after you die. So if you're thinking that you're going to go to hell because you've been a bad person after you die, a lot of people create their own hell. That's just how it happens. Or if someone has had a death that's maybe torturous, or a beheading, or an accident that is very traumatic, that person's going to be staying in that trauma because they haven't healed from it. So, for example, let's say a migraine. You're talking about a migraine. Somebody is accused of of stealing something in the 1400s, and they are beheaded. Okay, maybe the person did it, maybe they didn't, but they lost their head. So this person doesn't go to the light. They are still very, very angry. They're very distraught that they lost their head. So they will attach to someone who has a head. You know, someone who is a human being that's walking by, is also feeling very maybe angry about anything. So they're a vibrational match. So now the person is stuck in this person's head and reflecting all of their anger, all of their angst to this person who's walking around. So what I do is, during my regressions, is that I find these lost souls, these disembodied souls. I talk to them. I find out why they're there. And a lot of them will tell me their story. You know, this is what happened to me. I'm really angry. Well, what happened to you? Well, they cut off my head. Well, yeah, you know, would you forgive these people for this? You know, can you forgive them for not knowing any better? This is where the forgiveness work comes in. And then I reflect to them that they are part of Source too, that they are, gods themselves, that they are part of the light. And once they feel that they are part of this light, then they could go home. But I also go back into that past life and attempt to heal that body also, because you want to put their head back before they leave. So, being that all time is now, we can do that. We can travel through time and heal that body. So this is the kind of stuff that I do, is I actually do the hypnotherapy on these disembodied souls so that they can be released back to Source.
So what happened to these souls? They're earth-based souls. They didn't go to the light. So did they just find an attachment and they just attached themselves to a person and that was it?
Yeah, like a parasite. Yeah. Of course, because they're living through that person now.
Yeah, okay.
So, for example, let's say you have an alcoholic or drug addict who shoots himself up with heroin and or just dies from liver damage from so much alcohol. Well, once they die, they're going to want to have another drink, or they want to have another bit of more drugs. So they'll find someone. A lot of them are teenagers, unfortunately, who are feeling depressed because their family doesn't understand them. And so these souls will attach to them. And now all of a sudden your teenage kid is starting to drink. You don't know why, or starting to get into drugs because that soul wants a fix.
Okay, that's interesting.
Would a lot of that not be just down to peer pressure?
Well, we're dealing with all of these souls, so who knows what's going on with the peers? They could be attached, and they could have attachments too. So it's really, unless you go in there and you ask what's going on, you can't say.
Exactly.
You really can't say.
And what about the likes of walk-ins or demonic possession and stuff like that? Attachments?
Well, demonic possessions, to me, the ones that come to me, that they say they're demonic possessions, are the same thing. They're just souls that are angry, and they want to be acknowledged. And the way that I treat all of them is with love and respect. Find out what's going on with them, because everything is based on love, and we'll find out what's wrong, and then we release them to the light also.
Okay, now, I'm familiar, being a spiritual person, I've been involved in the spiritual side, and we've done spiritual rescue where we send a spirit into the light. But on the journey of doing the radio show and speaking to people and all that kind of stuff, I did come across a book called Alien Interview, where there was a nurse who was, she was Irish, and she was involved in the Roswell incident, where there was this is apparently in the book, it said an ET called J-Rod survived. So to cut long story short, basically she said going to the light is actually an archonic system where it's kind of recycling. So you basically go to the light, you get turned around and you get chucked back out and you're in another life. And I thought, that's okay, that's interesting. I don't know, I can't confirm that, but it's not the first time I've heard it.
Well, I don't like to, when I tell them to go to the light, I tell them to go back to source. I think there's a big difference with that.
Yeah.
Going back to creator, going back to your source, because, that's where we all come from. We all have that divine light within us.
Yeah, yeah.
Every night before I go to sleep, I see the white light. So, that's how I'm taken every night when I sleep, is I see this bright shining light come, and that's how I go to sleep. So, it's what you interpret it.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I kind of say source, creator.
Yeah.
I don't kind of say God, because, that's...
Right.
It's more than that. It's more than that. So source, creator, energy. It's a universal energy, and we've talked about that multiple times on the show, with other people, the spiritual people coming on. It's just I was just wondering, because obviously there has to be, you must have come across some negativity or some issues somewhere along the line, because it can't be all love and light and happy clappy stuff. You must have come across some negative stuff.
Well, those are more challenging. Some of them you can't do. I mean, some of them, for example, I had one gentleman who didn't want to let go of his attachments. He felt that his attachment was helping him. And this is a free will planet. So unless the client themselves wants to get rid of it, it won't go. And this was a pretty nasty attachment, and convinced the client that if he left, he'd be pretty much useless. So, yes, there are some that are challenges, because I've got to work with the client, and the client has to be willing to let them go too.
And people need to be aware of that. These attachments could be health issues that could be cleared through the hypnosis. Correct.
And some attachments that we have are our own beloved family members. For example, maybe your mother passes and you don't want to let them go. And you will attach them to you and not allow them to progress, to evolve, just because you love them so much. And I had to work on something like that a few weeks ago, where this person would not let his mother go. And he was attaching her to him.
And that means that they can't go to the light because there's a hole there.
Right, exactly.
There's an attachment there. That's interesting, especially with family members, and having the attachments. That's interesting. Right, we have questions coming in now from our chat room. So, Steve, if you want to go through the questions there.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions from Chris. Chris says, I've read some of Dolores Cannon's books, and in her opinions, the so-called greys are beneficial to man/womankind. I'm not sure about this. Does Alba agree with Dolores Cannon's conclusion?
Well, I haven't really spent too much time working with ETs. That was Dolores Cannon's specialty. So she worked with them. I guess my specialty is the disembodied souls. But I've heard both that the greys or the ETs can be benevolent and malevolent. So I don't really have anything to prove about that. I don't know.
No, that's fine. I mean, yeah. What's the next one? The next one, Chris says, as we pondered, I don't know if I'm supposed to be reading this book, but I've started, so I'll finish. As we pondered over a beer a little while ago, if time is not linear, is it possible that our next life could be in the past? And can our incarnations not be limited to the illusion of time? And can we be incarnated more than once in the present time?
Yeah, we definitely can be incarnated more than once in the present time. I have found that in several of my regressions where people are living parallel lives as male, female in different places, and our soul, we in our body are just holding one tiny aspect of our soul. So we can be split in all over the place. And we are living simultaneous lives in the past and the future. That's what the hypnosis is all about. We do go backwards and forwards.
Wow, okay.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So we don't go, so when we reincarnate, I suppose we're thinking linear time, and if we do come back, is it going to be in another 500 years or 1,000 years or whatever? But if it's not linear, then it could be...
It's all happening now, really. It's a concept that's so hard to wrap your head around, but the only moment there is now. So when we do a regression, we're actually doing time travel. We're going to different lives in the past and the future, into other aspects of you in the same timeline. It's so big and so diverse.
It's so vast. Well, you're getting outside your body, and you can go anywhere because it's energy. You know, you haven't got that physical restriction with your body. What did you come across any funny instance? When you were speaking to clients, anything that of interest or funny that you thought, oh, that's pretty good or quite funny?
Oh my God. Well, my own Sasquatch video was hysterical. When I found myself as a Sasquatch person. If anybody watches that video, if you need a good laugh, it's in the first few minutes. But when I had my own regression, I was in shock that I was like 8 feet tall and had these big hairy feet, and I was hairy, and I was a Sasquatch person. So that was my first experience with this, and I thought it was hysterical. But there are funny moments in regressions, depending on what's happening and what the personality is of the person in the higher self. You know, we find instances that are cute, and they're not all dramatic and tragic.
Okay. Now let's talk about the higher self, as you mentioned it there. Now, my understanding of this, and I could be wrong, again, we're very open to changing things, but my understanding is that depending on the life you're going to have, the soul contract you have when you come back down here for your next life, depending on the kind of life that you're going to live, will depend on the amount of energy that physical body will be given. So if you're going to have a kind of an average, Joe Soap life, you might get like 50%, give or take. If you're going to have a hard life, you'll have about, say, 70%. But you'll never get 100% because the physical body could not manage 100% of the higher self. Is that wrong, right, or what's your take on it?
That doesn't make much sense to me. Your higher self, to me, is the divine part of you. If you want to think of a person as an onion, this is how it was described by one higher self. If you want to think of the person as an onion, the center of the onion is your physical body, okay? And every layer of the onion is a different body. You have your etheric body, you have your astral body, you have your mind body, you have all of these different bodies that...
There's about 7 layers, isn't there? It's about 7...
Yeah, right. And then the outer layer is their higher self, okay? That higher self really doesn't get involved in the day-to-day stuff. It's more your divine part of you. It makes all of you. And obviously when we're in that higher self level, we are all one with all higher selves. That's how I experience it. We can connect with every other higher self because we're outside of all of this. So when we meditate, when we really start listening to our higher self, what I believe that happens is that we begin to merge with our higher self. We become more of our higher self than our ego mind. The ego mind is the one that's constantly telling you what you can't do and is always freaking out. And your higher self is always the one that already knows that everything's going to be okay. And it has a much different tone to it. So the more that you are in this spiritual mindset, I don't think it has to do with energy. It's just more receptive. You merge more with your higher self. You become more of your higher self. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And on the level of consciousness, that on the level of waking up on the planet, is there a kind of a deadline, or is there I'm not going to put a date on things, because it's always windows of opportunity. You never put a date on it. But I mean, do you have any idea from the information you've got back, where we are? I mean, I know you said it's happening now with Gaia.
Yeah. But
is it happening and it's going to take another 1,000 years, or is it happening and it's going to take, say, 10 years or 20 years? Because funny enough, we had the information recently by another guest that comes on our show, and while I was listening to his show, he knows who he is. He's probably tuning in tonight listening. And he was saying that already the planet is moving back to the way it should, because we know the planet is at 23 degrees, whatever. It's out of balance and it has to be rebalanced. And that moving of the planet is taking place at the moment. And that's why we're seeing a lot of things going on the planet at the moment, with hurricanes and flooding and everything else, because the planet, it's kind of the pole shift. Now, it might be done very slowly, so it doesn't have a major impact on the planet, but it's still going to have an effect on the planet. Can you kind of back that up? Do you have any information that's come through your clients confirming that?
Well, we are in a shift. We're beginning to shift vibrationally. This is not just the planet moving physically, but there is a major amount of energy being shot at us that is awakening us. And this is what is happening. There is a shift going on. And this is part of the awakening. It's the energy is changing, our consciousness is changing, and we're all waking up. This is part of it. This is part of the consciousness awakening that's happening. And
what's the end result?
Well, we're going to be able to see things beyond this matrix, which some people are already experiencing, and it's scary as it can be if you're not ready for it. Let me give you an example. I had one of my clients call me a couple of months ago, and he basically said that he woke up one morning and he was able to see fourth density people around him, okay, which meant, not physical.
Yeah.
He was seeing the matrix. He was actually seeing the data. You know how they show, like in the Matrix, the data flowing?
Yeah.
He actually was seeing that. Another gentleman told me that he would see hands coming out of the walls. These were his guides. Hands would be coming out of the walls. These are the things that are happening that people, if they're not ready, they'll go crazy if they're not ready to experience this, because this is what's happening. You're starting to see things differently than 3D.
Can you imagine if you weren't woken up and you start seeing stuff like that?
Yeah. And you'll be able to read people's minds. People will come up to you and you already know what they're there for. It's scary stuff. It's, if you're not ready for it. So this is why people have to wake up, because once this starts happening more and more, people will go crazy if you wake up in the morning and see people in your room, and things like that.
Well, one of the things that we were said as well is that the energy changes that are taking place it is driving people nuts, because they can't cope with it. They're not able to deal with it, especially people who are still in the matrix, and because they don't know what's going on. They just know that they're going a bit nutty.
You probably find a lot of the insane asylums are probably full of people who have had this experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are experiencing a lot of physical symptoms. Ringing in their ears is one of them.
Yeah.
Chest pains, pains in their chest, or pressure in their throat, discomfort that they don't know what's going on. You just have to understand this is what's happening. There are times where I will feel so much pressure in my chest, it's crazy. I feel the vibrations. It's not painful, but you just know things are happening.
Yeah, I will say, maybe we should go through a little list. But definitely the ringing in the ear, ringing in the left ear, ringing in the right ear, pains, definitely pains, aches and pains people are experiencing. The people are experiencing a lack of sleep, or they're waking up, in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. I'm trying to think. There's a number of things. Maybe pins and needles or tingling sensations in the body. That's another one. I don't know. Is there any more that you can think of?
Those are pretty much what I hear all the time. Some people are lacking in sexual. The libido is low. They have no sexual. They don't want to have sex anymore. That's another one that's really high on the list. People will come to me and say, I have absolutely no desire to have sex.
Yeah.
And this is, men and women, and they're alarmed by it. What's going on, because my partner is upset at me, but I just don't feel it. So that's another one too.
And funny, because if you listen to the likes of the governments, where years ago people would have 3 or 4 kids, now people are having 1 or 2, or maybe 1 or none. And the problem is that over here anyway, I don't know about America, but the elderly population, when they retire, there's not enough state funding to keep them, the pensioners, because there's not enough young people in employment to support that system. Right. And this is why they're trying to get people to say, well, you're going to have to work till 70 now, because they don't want to pay the people the money because they don't have it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of, in a roundabout way, part and parcel of what's going on. Definitely the whole thing, because the sex thing is just kind of Neanderthal physical thing, and if we're going 4th dimension, 5th dimension, because we've heard that, then obviously you'd understand why people are going to lose an interest in it, because it doesn't come into the 4th or 5th dimension, really.
No, because people are more into the feelings of other people instead of the physical. It's more of connecting with people spiritually. That's what's giving people more pleasure now, is being able to connect in a different way. So, people are getting pleasure just connecting mind to mind, soul to soul.
And we have to talk about love, because the 2 emotions are love or fear. And obviously the powers to be will obviously want us to be in fear, with all the fear-mongering of what's going on. And we've said this before on the show time and time again. The answer is love. It doesn't matter what the question is.
Correct.
So, and it's that love energy. And even if you look at the scientific facts, and if you look at DNA when it's under fear, and then look at DNA when it's under love, the DNA scope is all kind of shaky, and it's kind of very fast. But when you see the DNA under a scope when it's love, it's all kind of nice, free-flowing, and nice and easy. So there is scientific information to back this up. And we do say to people, the powers to be are trying to put us in fear with all this North Korea and everything else, and people talk about, it's fear porn. And myself and Steve have kind of got over this years ago. And we said, look, it's information. That's all it is. It's information. It's not negative. It's not positive. It's just information. Treat it as such.
That's right. You can't worry about something that doesn't exist. I mean, just recently, I was in New Zealand while there was a hurricane in my city. And everybody was, oh my God, are you okay? Are you worried? And it's like, well, I can't be worried because I'm not there. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm okay. So, when I get back, we'll deal with it, and everything was okay. So it's just information. You can't be worried about something that's not in your reality at the moment.
And especially when it's on the mainstream media, you can't believe them anyway. Tell us about the power of the body to heal ourselves. Have you come across any information regarding our abilities, because we know we all have abilities that the knowledge has been taken away, and you mentioned manifesting earlier on, and obviously there's a lot of abilities that some people are actually getting now because of this change, and we all have the ability, but it's kind of being hidden from us. It's that hidden knowledge. And so what have you come across regarding healing yourself? What advice would you have from the information you've got?
Well, your body heals itself anyway. I mean, you know that just by when you get a little cut, you know that it's going to heal itself anyway. You may want to put a little Band-Aid on it to keep it from getting dirty, but our body heals. The etheric body, which is the body that is one step higher than our physical body, is where all the healing takes place. That's the blueprint of our body. So all of the healing takes place in the etheric realm. Now, the mind, the mental body, is what tells the etheric body what to do. So when you think of, Louise Hay, who was always talking about affirmations and how you speak with your body, that was very powerful because the mind is what tells the etheric body what it looks like, what it should look like, what it should feel like. So if you're always telling yourself, oh, I'm so sick, I'm so worried, I'm so, something's going to happen to me, of course, your body is going to react and take over, and make it real, manifest it. But if you are loving your body, if you're in harmony with your body, if you're in harmony with everything around you, your body's going to be okay. Now, there are people who have come to this world with contracts to go through certain illnesses, certain diseases, because that's part of their learning. That's part of their contract. Okay? So not everything can be healed because you agreed to that beforehand. So for example, someone who may become disabled, it could be because they want to learn what it feels like to have to be dependent on other people for service. Okay? So, it's very important not to just say, hey, we can heal everything, because we do have reasons why we have chosen certain diseases or certain disabilities. So not everything can be healed if that person has that contract.
Do you believe that if and I'm just saying this because I know I read it in Michael Newton's book, but you might have come across it as well, that if it's inevitable that a person is going to die, say it's a suicide, say jumping off a bridge or something like that, because it's inevitable, the soul actually leaves the body before. Because I read about this, and I was wondering if you came across that yourself in past lives.
Yes, most people who experience the past life regressions realize that you choose to transition out of your body, and many times I've come across the fact that when somebody is being killed, they already, they don't have to go through that whole experience, or if they're dying in a plane crash or something, that they're gone way before anything happens. It's instantaneous. So
does that mean that they don't feel the physical pain and everything else?
Right, exactly.
All right, then, well, that's kind of good to know for a lot of people, because, although there are people that have, I suppose, if you have a terminal illness and you're in pain, unless they've, I suppose, wanted to experience that pain, I don't know anybody who they want to experience pain, but is that a possibility?
It is, but what I have found is after they transition, they look back and they think it's a big joke. It's like, oh, okay, well, we just went through that. It's not a big deal to the soul.
Wow. Okay. Right. Okay. You have to convince me on that one. Okay. Well, no, that's it's good to know, because obviously, as I said, I read about this and I found it quite interesting that the soul leaves. If it's inevitable that there's going to be death, the soul leaves the body before anything happens, and that's quite interesting. Is there anything that you've come across in past lives that you've learned that would be of benefit for people to know? You know, would you, apart from obviously them being hurt or something happened, because I know, again, I have to, these are the only books, unfortunately, I've read regarding the subject, but I found them fascinating. Yeah. And it's something that I think is important to say to people. One of the stories was, it was in the 18th century where a young girl of 16 was with a boy, and he was up on the roof, and he fell off the roof, and he died. And she found out she was pregnant, and obviously in the 1800s, that was a no-no. So she went into the river and she committed suicide and she drowned herself. And when she went up and to review her life, they said to her, she thought that was the only option she had. But they said, well, look, that wasn't the only option you have, and they gave her all the other options. And then she kind of realised that, okay, I didn't actually think about the other options that were available, and maybe that was part of the learning. Have you come across anything like that? Because you know there's a lot of people committing suicides. You know, in Ireland, we were having like 2 suicides a day for a certain period of time. It was just unbelievable, the amount of people committing suicides. So I think it's relevant to say, if people are feeling that way, that there's always an alternative. So can you talk to us about suicides and, you know, what you've come across?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people who have committed suicide in the past lives, and yeah, their guides will say, you know, tis, you know, you could have done it better. You know, you were there to learn something, and you're going to have to go back and do it again. And they do. It just becomes like a yo-yo. You keep, you know, going back and forth. But the person did choose to come and learn that lesson. Or learn something, or deal with people that they didn't know how to deal with before. And until you make it right, you know, it's not that they're telling you to make it right. You want to make it right. You understand when you're on that side. It's like, oh, I didn't do it right. You know, let's do it again. Yeah. And for a soul, a life is no big deal. It's like, you know, it's like if you fail doing a little task at home and you didn't get it right, let's do it again. But, you know, to them, a soul is a blink, the lifetime is a blink of an eye. It's really fast. So, they do come back, and they have to work at it.
I'm glad you actually said that, because I'm speaking from experience regarding a family member who did commit suicide. And I was talking to this individual probably 2 weeks before he did it. And he happened to talk about, mention the word, you know, suicide, as a topic from a spiritual point of view. And I kind of said to him, well, you know what happens, that if you take your own life, then you're going to be coming back to do it again, because, you know, you didn't leave the airplane naturally. It wasn't, right, this is my soul contract, I'm finished, off I go. You're actually finishing it prematurely, because there might be another part of your life that you have to learn, and you've cut that short by committing suicide. But obviously, you know, my advice obviously didn't seem to work, or what I said to him didn't work, for a number of other reasons I won't get into. But I think it's important for people to realise there is always an alternative. And if you do commit suicide, you know, chances are you're going to be coming back to do it again, because you didn't finish your exercises.
Well, another thing that's important to understand, in that at this time on Earth, there are many, many, many new souls that are here. Not just people who are reincarnating. There are a lot of many new souls that have come from other planets, other places, just to be part of this awakening. And a lot of these people, I don't want to say most, but a lot of these people just cannot handle it. Life on Earth is just too hard, because these are new souls. They don't have the experience of many different lifetimes. So when they come here, people are just too mean. There is just too much heartache. There's just too much violence for them, and they just cannot handle it. Or they're very empathic themselves. I had one young man that came to me. In fact, he didn't come to me. His mother brought him to me. I did not do a hypnosis session. I basically just talked to him. He was suicidal because he could hear people's thoughts. He could feel people. And he could not handle that. He felt very paranoid, and he thought he was going crazy, and he could not handle this life. So what I did is, I explained to him what an empath was. And I said, this is something that's really a superpower. It's not a disability. It's a superpower that you have that other people don't have, and you just need to know how to use the superpower, not leave this earth. You came here with this.
Yeah.
So a lot of these folks, like you said, a lot of them are probably in mental institutes, are people who are empaths, and they can feel things, they can hear things, they're clairvoyant, they hear people talking to them from other dimensions, and they just have to learn how to use their skill rather than checking out.
Exactly.
Because they're here to help people.
Yeah, they're giving it, and it's funny that you should say that, because a lot of the time I've come across people who are given a gift and they don't want it, and you think, but you've been given a gift to help people. Surely you want to embrace that and work with it, but they're just scared, and we fear things we don't understand. And like you did, you sat down with the guy and you explained it to him that it's like a superpower. And I think once they get to grips with it and they get used to it, and I've come across that and spoke to a few people in that position as well, and they've taken it on board, which is great, because that means that they're going to be helping people as well and develop, which is brilliant. I'm going to pass you off to Steve. Steve has more questions coming in on the chat room there, Steve.
Okay.
Yeah, I have quite a few questions here.
Oh boy.
Okay, where to go first? In relation to regression. Let's say someone sits down with you and they have a session, and they come back, they listen to the recording, and they hear what they hear. If they went to someone else and went through the same regression, would they come back with the same information, do you think?
Well, you're typically not given the same lifetime or same experience. In my case, I kind of follow the Dolores canon way in that I ask them to bring questions so that I can speak with their higher self. So when they come to me, they already have a mindset of what they want to find out. So when they come to a hypnotherapist or a QHHT practitioner or past life regressionist, they are dealing with certain issues at that time. And so you will be going to that lifetime or to that experience that will explain what's going on. So depending on what you've learned since then, you may go to a totally different experience.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Okay. A question here from Martin. Now, I'm not sure if Martin was joking, but I'm going to add on to the question. But Martin was wondering if when we come back, when we pass over and we do come back, we come back in another life. He says, can you come back as an object, as in like a chair?
Yes, you can. Everything has consciousness. Everything has consciousness. So I have had some of the funniest regressions, and you asked me about this before, Alan, is that one guy had 3 past lives. One, he was a leaf that had just fallen off of a tree and had fallen into the river. And he was very happy because had he fallen on the ground, he would have just died there and not seeing the world. But he actually fell in the river and was able to drift gently down a river and see things that he would never have seen when he was on the tree. And the next life, he was a comet. And he experienced life, what it was like to go through space as a comet. And the last thing he experienced was as a little shrub of grass, where he was very happy, going season to season, excited that he would be alive again after the winter's snow. But he died when a little mole or something started eating at his roots. So, yeah, you do come back as things that we wouldn't consider people. Yeah, we are consciousness.
So if this little chap came back as a leaf, then would he not have come back as the whole tree, as one consciousness? Or would every leaf or every branch on a tree be a separate consciousness?
Well, think of your own body. You consider yourself one body, but every cell in your body has consciousness. It has its own function.
It's all energy. It's all vibrates, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. This is kind of a strange question, and I'm only asking because we're talking strange stuff anyway. A lot of people have had this experience. I've had it. Alan has had it. A lot of people have had it around the world, and no one seems to know why. But have you ever kind of woken up and looked at the clock, and it could be 11:11 or 20:20 or 13:13, and I both Alan and I, we get this a lot. And is there any meaning to it, or is it just?
Yes.
There is.
Yeah. These are your guides that are talking to you. You're in a matrix, which means it can be manipulated any which way. Okay? I mean, you could be reading a book and a paragraph appears in the book that maybe was never written in that paragraph. Okay, in that book. Okay? So there are times when you look at the clock just at the right time. It's almost like you get a nudge to say, look at the clock. Look at the clock. And it'll be 1:11 or 11:11 or 3:33. And these are your guides kind of giving you a high five saying, you're doing good. Things are good. Okay? You're on the right path. This happens to me daily. Every time I look at the clock, it's always a 111 or a 222 or a 333 or 444. And it happened yesterday. I had actually, I went into my car, something had been stolen from my car, and as soon as I looked at the clock, it was 111, which meant, it's okay, don't worry about this.
Okay. This is, I get this. I'd go in the kitchen and the dishwasher would be on and it'll just be at 1:11, or you wake up at night time and you look at the clock and it's, 1, 2, 3, 4 or something, we see it all the time. Me and Steve see it all the time.
You're not alone. You are always, always, always guided.
Yeah,
and these are ways for you to just get it in your head. You're not alone. We've got your back.
That's good to know, because my wife thought I might be just. She reckoned that I might be just watching the clock, and I keep on watching it for this to happen. But I told her no. I said I could just out of the blue just look at the clock, and there it is.
That's it exactly. Yeah. It's it's a strange one, but it's good to get the information on that. Though they have our back.
So it's a high five. I'm happy about it.
A high five on that.
Yeah.
In relation to attachment, Alba, we spoke earlier about, you said if someone had was beheaded, that they could attach onto someone else. What about twins? Let's say, for argument's sake, twins in the womb and one dies. Obviously, they're not going to be beheaded, but could the consciousness of one twin transfer to the other?
I couldn't really answer that one. Usually they're on a different path. But, you haven't really occupied that body anyway. The souls are not occupying that body right away. So, you're in and out all the time. So, perhaps that soul had agreed to die in that mother's womb so that she can learn something from that experience.
Okay.
Do you have another one?
Oh, plenty more.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot of, we've kind of seen recently, I know this has been going around for a long time, there's a guy on YouTube has a lot of videos where he has these ethereal radios, and he claims to be able to listen to voices, and it's not new technology, it's gone back a long time, and it's just come up on my radar again recently, and I'm just wondering, is there any credence to what these people say when they have kind of a radio tuned to white noise, that they can actually hear voices and and not just hear them, but actually communicate with them?
Well, in 2 of my sessions online, and I really can't tell you about others because I don't really listen to my sessions. Once I post them, once I clean up the audio and post them, I really never ever go back to them. But in 2 sessions in particular that I did in, I believe it was Salt Lake City, there were 2 sisters, And in both of those sessions, there was a female voice that actually said something, and it's on the recording, and you can hear it. One of them said, while we were doing some work on her, she said, shifting. And this is a third woman's voice. It wasn't my voice. It wasn't the client. It was a third woman's voice that said shifting. In the sisters session, I was doing something, and the voice said, very good. So in both of those, yes, we were able to pick up voices in the recording.
Can I just add a question there? When we were talking about the Matrix and the whole holographic world, do you actually believe that we're in a program?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think so.
And does that... sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is all, this is so bizarre. Our whole life is so bizarre. And once you start awakening, you can kind of learn the programming tricks. This is what the manifestation is all about. You can learn how to use these programming tricks to manifest even faster.
Wow. And what about have you had anybody who has mentioned the Mandela Effect?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, in one of the videos, oh gosh, I can't tell you which one it was, they talk about the fact that they are trying to, people from our future are trying to shift things in our reality now in order for us not to go down the wrong path, the wrong timeline. So our timelines are constantly being shifted, are being manipulated.
Yeah.
And this has come out. I'm not sure if it's in one of my YouTube videos, but yeah, the Mandela Effect is definitely real, and it's shifting in timelines, and the timelines are happening. The timeline shifts are happening all the time. I don't know if you have felt the effects of any of them. I mean, I definitely have proof that my timeline shifted the other day. I'll just give you.
It wasn't.
I'll give you the story.
Was it on
I'll
Monday?
give you the story of that one.
I wasn't on.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well, let me tell you the story so that you understand what a timeline shift would be like.
Okay.
I came back from a trip, and I had called my crystal shop and said, I want you to set aside a bumblebee jasper, a pendant, and matching earrings, so that when I come back home, come back from my trip, I could buy these. So I actually bought this, and 2 days later, I met with a friend at a party, and she says, "Oh, you're wearing the bumblebee jasper. I remember when you came into the shop last time, and you were wearing it." And I had just bought this 2 days ago. Mm. And she told me what the conversation was like. She says, "No, this is what we talked about. You were wearing this, you were wearing this blouse, and we were talking about how beautiful it was." And so I said, well, that was your timeline. In this timeline where we're sitting in right now, I just bought this 2 days ago.
Right.
You understand?
Okay.
So that was a timeline shift.
Okay, mine, well, I don't know. I tell you, last week, and I haven't said this to Steve, actually didn't say it to anybody, so it's only between you, me, and Steve, okay?
Okay, I won't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody, so it's only between us. But I was sitting on the computer, and doing what I'm doing, updating. It was on a Monday, and I was obviously doing the YouTube thing for the OYM for doing YouTube. And all of a sudden, I felt this energy. It was like walking into me. Mm. And I thought, what the hell was that? It was like just energy just walking in, as if it was there, and it just went, and I could just feel this energy come in.
Wow.
And I thought, well, I hope that wasn't a walk-in, because they're not invited, And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that was.
Well, you have to tell them to leave.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was a walk-in, because I mean, my spiritual protection. I am aware of all the kind of negativity and the shields up and everything else, you know. So I am aware of kind of that stuff, you know, and protection is very important. It's paramount for a lot of people. And there's no adverse effect or anything like that. I just thought, that was strange. Maybe they tried to get in and they just couldn't get in, and they bounced off me. But so that's just a strange one. I don't know, you know. I don't know. That's just weird. But again, you're dealing with energies. I am sensitive to energies myself, so that's probably why. But Steve, you have more questions there for Alba?
Yes, I do. Joan said in relation to libido, she said, "Is there an agenda here? Why is it a crisis? Why people have or seem to have no interest?"
Well, if we're shifting to a new consciousness, this Christ consciousness, which is where we're going to, it's not a physical consciousness. It's a spiritual consciousness. So we'll be doing less with our body and more with our mind, with our emotion, with our spirit.
Well, we're going from it's supposed to be going from a carbon-based life form to a crystalline, which is the switch over.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not. I don't see it as a crisis. I see it as you being able to love on a totally different level.
Okay. Hopefully that answers Joan's question. Okay, one last question from Chris, and just in relation, remember you were saying earlier on about before people die, the spirit can be kind of yanked out of the body. There was actually a movie done on that a long time ago with Warren Beatty and Julie Christie called Heaven Can Wait. It's actually quite a brilliant film, I think, for its time, where that actually happened before the body died. Well, he wouldn't have died anyway, but the spirit was yanked out, and then his body was buried, so they had to find a new body for him.
I remember.
Very good film. Very good film. And Chris's question is, he said, this is a delicate subject, but is it possible that benevolent beings can input thoughts into people's heads at times of stress?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is what that's what we call angels and guides, of course. When we are worried, they're always there trying to tell us it's going to be okay. Because when we're worrying, we're really creating our own little, tornado around us. If we could just be still, we would know that everything's okay right now. And this is the only moment we need to be is in now. So these benevolent beings are always around us trying to remind us of that. You're okay now. Everything is okay. And giving us these thoughts. I did this extensively with automatic writing. Whenever I was distressed, I would call on my guides and I would actually get the answers. But in your mind always.
Well, here's something for you regarding that topic. We know the powers to be have advanced tech. They have voice-to-skull technology. And we also hear about channeling might be a bad idea because they're not actually channeling the people they think they're channeling. So
correct.
It really puts a lot of doubt in people's minds when they're involved in the spiritual side, because they're questioning, is this for real, or is this advanced tech that the powers to be are using, like voice-to-skull technology or whatever? So there has to be some kind of monitoring system or something that you can actually check the information, like a reference checker or something. Now, I kind of say, well, look, if the information comes in and it's a positive and they're getting you to do something on the positive level, then it's obviously good information. But if they're getting you to do things that goes against your principles or anything, well, then it's obviously bad information. And then if there's information that comes in, I would treat all information as putting it on the mantelpiece and saying, okay, we'll just leave it there for now. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not going to believe it. I'm just putting it up there. And I think probably you have to be, as we say, myself and Steve are open-minded skeptics. And that's the best way to treat any information.
Including the videos that I put out there. I treat them all just like that. There's so much information that I hear that I've heard many, many times in different sessions, but I always treat it like brand new material to see where it's going. and some of it does contradict something else. And I don't put it out there for people to look at it as, absolute truth. Use your own discernment. Does it resonate with you? Does it feel good or not? There are some sessions I have that I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I don't feel good about what the information is that's coming through. But maybe it resonates with somebody else. I don't put it out there saying, hey, you have to follow this. This is something that you have to use your own discernment. If it doesn't feel good to you, you have to follow your own guidance.
But could this be a level? Could it be a case that the person who you're regressing is at a certain level of knowledge, and the higher self gives that person the information based on their level of knowledge or their awakening? Yes. Because you can't, if you were to turn around to somebody, if you regress somebody who was in the Matrix and they were given stuff about ETs and comets and they just wouldn't get it. It'd be off their,
exactly. Exactly. Every time I do a regression, the higher self sounds different because everybody is at a different level. I've been asked many times on YouTube, can you ask the higher self about this or about that? Well, no, because that's not part of their reality. They're not going to be talking about something that isn't at their level. Yeah. And the higher self is also in different levels. Everybody's at a different level. So there are times I'll access someone during a session that seems very, very immature or doesn't know much. And it's like, get out of the way. Give me someone who can really answer these questions. So, you can't trust everything that comes through, and not everybody has the capacity of bringing forth brilliant information.
So do you think that if some spirits, or if you get a spirit that comes through that pretends to be a higher self, and you have to kind of go, that doesn't sound like a higher self? Right,
exactly. And there are times when that happens. It's happened to me in my own regressions, when I've had regressions that they've asked to speak with the higher self, and it's an attachment. It's someone pretending to be someone else. So you have to, as a hypnotherapist or a practitioner, you have to be very, very aware of these things, because if it doesn't resonate with you, they're pulling your leg, or you got to be careful. You can't take everything seriously.
Yeah, one of the things that we say obviously we've said on the show before, but on the talks that we do, was everybody's on a path of knowledge, and some people are further down the road than others. And correct. The one thing and when we've had information come into us and it didn't resonate with us, so we put it on the shelf, and 2 years later, then it resonated with us, and then we did a show on it, and we took it from there. So if the energy's not right, if it's not resonating with us, we just put it on the shelf. And I think people have to be aware of that sometimes what we said was, when you wake up, sometimes you have to go down the rabbit hole, and say you are further down the path of knowledge than we are. You still have to let that person go down, even though there's nothing down there. They still have to go down there to experience it and to find out, what's down there. And this is what we say: when people are further down the road, don't have a go at people who are just waking up, because it's important that they experience going down the rabbit hole and all that kind of stuff, because that's part of their experience. That they have to do that.
Right, and people are waking up in different ways. It's taken me over, I'm on like 30 years now of waking up. So it's taken me a lot longer to wake up than what people are waking up to now. But I'll give you an example. About 20 years ago, I bought a book called the Urantia book. Okay, this is a channeled book, which is very, very thick. And it has one portion of it with Jesus's life that was very, very interesting. But the other part was so over my head that I would actually get nauseous when I would start reading it, because it was just too heavy duty. Well, I think that probably now I'm ready to start reading it, that I could understand it more. But 20 years ago, it got me nauseous just to read what it said, because it was too out there for me. I could not accept these concepts.
Well, I totally agree. It's like people seeing the Matrix movie. When they're not awake, they look at it and go, what was that all about? And then when they're awake and you wake up and you look back at it, you go, now I get it. Now I get the picture.
Right.
And I think
exactly.
Yeah, and I think I think that's, again, the information, you have to take gradual steps, because it can be overkill. I just imagine if, I know it's accelerating with people waking up at the moment, but can you imagine, how do you fit your 30 years into somebody who's just about to wake up? Can you imagine the head would just go bang, it'll just explode?
Exactly. And that's why I think that when people watch my videos, they are presented in a way. I think that whoever thought of this before I started doing it on a spiritual realm was brilliant in how it's being shown to people, is that they're learning like in baby steps about this. It's coming to them in bits and pieces, not all at one time, and people are experiencing different areas of spirituality through these different sessions. So they're getting it little by little. But I do get people saying, this doesn't resonate with me. I think this is all BS. And it's like, okay, you're not there yet. Move on to another video, or don't come back for a while until you wake up some more.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
They're not ready.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not ready.
And and we talk about this even with the waking up process. And we say to people, look, there's no point if people have just woken up, there's no point giving them stuff about black goo, ETs and all that when they've just woke up. Stick to the legal system, the courts, the education system, the basic stuff, and and build from there. There's no point, because if you start giving them the big stuff, it'll just completely fry their mind, because they're not ready for it. They haven't got to that stage. And of course, there's what we say is the awareness has to start first, and then the self-awareness has to start asking questions about who you are as an individual, not just what's going on around you, but who are you in this scheme of things of the earth and the planet and everything else and what's going on. Steve, you have another question there for Alba.
Yes, I do, and that Urantia book that you just spoke of, I just looked it up there, and it's what they have there on Wikipedia. Anyway, that's all I've seen so far. It's quite interesting. It says that the book and publishers do not name a human author. Instead, it's written as if directly presented by numerous celestial beings appointed to the task of providing an epochal religious revelation. Quite interesting. Anyway, Chris's question, this is probably the last one anyway, unless anyone has any more. Are there demons?
I think that's a word that has been used to scare people. I mean, there are ET groups that are not very nice. You could probably find out about them. But demons, as far as if you're talking in the disembodied soul group, these are usually people who are just wanting to cause a lot of havoc on you. Okay? If you're looking at it as disembodied souls being demons, a lot of them will come in and I'll ask them their name and they'll say, my name is Lucifer. Okay? And it's like, okay, you must be really angry. What's going on with you? Because you're using the big name. Who's done what to you? Why are you so angry? And we'll find out that it's just somebody who's really, really ticked off and they had a miserable life and they just want to cause all sorts of havoc on people. But, of course, there are the ET groups that are not very nice. And some people would call them, demons. But, are they really? I think they're just other beings that have a different agenda.
Earth-based spirits. In some of the spiritual rescue that I've done, when somebody's taken out of the body very quickly, like an accident, one of the people said, "Am I dead?" It was that quick, and obviously we did the spiritual rescue. Is it a case that you've come across these entities or these attachments where they have been taken out of the body real quick, and it's a bit like the movie Ghost, where he's kind of saying, what happened? It was just so quick that you don't realise where they are and what's going on.
Yep. Yeah. I think that happens a lot, where they don't know what happened, and then they see a body and they just jump into the body, because that's what we do. We jump into a body. So, yeah.
And has anybody said anything about, like, a past life, that when they did pass over, what did they see? Did they see anything during the passing over?
Sure. That's in a lot of my sessions. Excuse me. Some of them will hang out with their family for a while. You know, they like to be there while they have their funerals and their wakes, and they hang out with their family just because they want to make sure they're okay. And then, you know, once they move on, they meet with their guides and go to the council and do the past life review. I mean, I had that in my own past life regression as a pilot, where I died and I hung around. I watched my funeral, and then my guide took me to like a movie theater, and we saw glimpses of my past life and realized I didn't do a real nice job of how I treated people. So in this life, we're going to do a little bit differently this time.
What about karma? Is there any kind of, anybody talk about karma, or how, you know, when they assess their life, that it's...
Well, karma is really an impression that something makes on you, okay? So karma could be good karma, and it could be bad karma. So, for example, karma could be, you know, just you were a service to other people, and this is something that your soul has been imprinted with. Karma could be something that you experienced. For example, a pain. A knife being stuck into your back could feel like karma, because you're carrying that impression of that knife being stuck. It could be a musical ability, someone who has a musical ability and can play the piano when they're 2 years old. So karma is really like an imprint that's left on your soul. And
but obviously what I'm getting at with the karma is, what about the people who do bad things to others?
Well, then you come back and you switch roles, because you realize that, oh, well, that must have not felt really good. Let me see how it feels when I do it. And so when you come back, you switch roles, and, okay, this time I'm going to hurt you so that you know, can feel what it feels like.
So do you believe there's soul groups that agree that this time, you know, when I come down, I'm going to be your dad this time, I'm going to be your mum, whatever, and this is going to happen, and, you know, so the soul groups are all part of this play. Well, it's really a play, isn't it, really?
It's huge. It's a huge soul group. Huge, huge, huge. Imagine all the people that you know, and they all play a part in your life. And you're constantly meeting people, even around the world. You'll meet somebody in a different country that you go, oh my God, I feel like you're my sister, or you're my brother.
Yeah.
Our soul group is huge.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, the way myself and Steve met, I mean, it wasn't an accident. It was meant to happen. Because, you know, 7 years later, we're doing this radio show, and have been doing it for a long time. But we were friends before that. But it's just how everything kind of developed. It's just, so it's uncanny. You know, it really is uncanny. How things work. But Alba, we've reached that time. I'm sure you're tired. But again, thanks for coming on. It's fantastic information. I'm really glad that you came on, and thanks for answering the email, because I think your sessions are fantastic.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thanks for, you know, again, I know you're very, very busy. You're a very busy woman, and a woman in demand. And so I'm going to pass you over to Steve. Steve's going to get all your contact details. And don't forget, we have to find out when Alba's going to be coming off to Ireland, because I'm sure she's going to be inundated with calls in, having to be, people wanting to be regressed.
Yeah.
But again, a big thank you, Alba, for myself for coming on. I really enjoyed the chat. Great information. And, we'll have to do a part 2 in the new year, hopefully. Definitely if you're coming over to Ireland before you come over, definitely do a show. And that would be great to, do a promotion for that anyway. But again, thanks a lot. I'm going to pass you up to Steve. Steve's going to get all your details. Yeah,
great information. I enjoyed every minute of it too, I have to say, and a lot of good questions on the chat room as well. So thanks to everyone for your questions this evening. Alba, we do have the link to the website, albaweinman.com, and it does have all the links for the YouTube videos. We also have the link for your Facebook as well, which we've put up on both of the chat rooms for everyone to see. Are there any other links that you want to give out while you're there? A book or a DVD or anything else that you want to just throw out there?
Well, you've already said my website, albaweinman.com. It's WEINMAN. You could also look at, I have over 150 YouTube videos of sessions that I post. That's on Alba Weinman. Just look for the channel. And I do have a Facebook group, Alba Weinman Hypnotherapy Facebook group, for those that are interested in my work. And I usually post when I have new videos and just information on there. But those are the 3 major places where I go to that you can look up.
Brilliant stuff. And I recommend to people to go and look up at Alma's client sessions, because they're very good, great information. It's just interesting what comes across and what the people are being told by the higher selves and the spiritual, the attachments by these entities. I mean, there's so much in life that we don't understand, and every day is just a learning experience, and we'll keep on learning if you're open-minded to be learned. Because if you're, we talk about this, if you're open-minded to learn, then the information will come into you. But if you're stuck in your belief system and you can't challenge your belief system, you can't entertain a thought, then you're not really going to learn. You have to be open-minded, but be a skeptic at the same time. Ask for the facts, ask for the information. Again, Alba, a big thank you for coming on. Just stay with us there for a minute. We're just going to go off to a musical break, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com and peoplesinternetradio.com.
Okay, Kate Bush, wow. Good information there from Alba. She's kind of promises that if she does come over to Ireland, that she will hook up for a bit of a chat, a bit of a chinwag, but good information nonetheless. As I said in the chat room there, it's just information. It may resonate with you, it may not resonate with you, what she's saying, but it's just information. Put it on the shelf and revisit it at a later date. And
pop off to our YouTube channel and have a look at the sessions that she's done, because they are very interesting. There's enough there to take a choice from, have a look at, have a listen. Now, she did say that if she does come over in Ireland, it'll probably be around May, and she does pre-book her sessions. So if you do want to get in, I suppose you want to get in now and email her if you want a session with Alba, and ask her, if she's coming over in May, get your booking in. I don't know what she charges or anything like that. You need to go off to her website and check it out. Steve, you have a website there?
Yeah, we do have, albaweinman.com is the website. And there are some testimonials, some videos there. And have you watched some of those?
I have, yeah.
What can we expect when
just
when
everything and anything.
Yeah?
Really, everything. You need to, she's so many videos there. You just need to have a look at the heading and just pick the video that interests you and go in and see if it resonates with you.
Okay. I'll definitely check that out.
Check it out. Now, next week, we have a lady called Maria Wheatley. Now, Maria was at the BASIS conference, and she come on to OYM for 15 minutes before the BASIS conference, and we had a great chat with her. And we said we'd contact her after the BASIS conference to come on and do a full interview, because the information she had was very interesting, so we've asked her to come back. So Maria's on next week, and we're also trying to secure an interview, fingers crossed, with Dr. Simoncini. Now, Dr. Simoncini, for people who don't know him, he's an ex-doctor because they struck him off because he found a cure for cancer. He found cancer was actually a fungus, and you could treat it with sodium bicarb. And that's what he's doing now. He's educating people and teaching people about how to cure cancer with sodium bicarb. And we've been in touch with Dr. Simoncini, and we're just arranging a time and date with him, which should be in the next couple of weeks. We'll get him on. He's trained as an oncologist, which is a cancer doctor, so you can't get better than that. And we're going to get him on, and we're going to talk to him about sodium bicarb, and hopefully he'll be able to enlighten us and help us to understand the benefits of it and how to use it. If you had friends and family who are struggling, and maybe other diseases as well, or other symptoms that can be treated with as well, because it's all about the alkaline acid balance in your body, and that's really what it is. And if your body's more acid, then that means that there's a higher chance of you getting disease. If it's more alkaline, there's a less chance. That's the science of it. I'm sure there's a lot more to it, and he'll talk to us about it and tell us about it. But there you go.
I actually had a chat with someone during the week in work. We were talking about diseases, and I actually did mention about your body being like acidic or alkaline, and I was kind of met with a blank stare. But after a few minutes, I kind of went into the science of it and all. I said, well, the likes of cancer and certain diseases, they will kind of thrive in an acidic environment, but the more alkaline is, they can't survive and they die. And after a few moments, the gentleman who I was speaking with, he kind of seen sense in it. And he started asking me some questions like about different things, and tea, would tea be acidic? And I said, well, it's all down to your water. You need to have your water checked and get a water filter or whatever you need to do, and certain foods, and I just informed him about the processed foods and stuff like that. That it's not what your body needs.
Why don't you bring in the litmus strips and do a test for him? The strips.
That'd be worthwhile doing.
Bring them into work and go, like, there's the water, and then get sodium bicarb, put some in, and then he'll see the difference. There's the science, there's the proof.
I forgot I actually had those.
Yeah, there you go. Because, the litmus strips you can buy on Amazon for like £2 or £3. And it's a great way to just do a quick test on your acid or pH balance in your body. Now, the other thing I suggest to people as well with sodium bicarb is if you have teenagers and they have spots or you have mouth ulcers, make up a little gel with the sodium bicarb and water and put it on the spot, or get them to rinse the mouth out with sodium bicarb in the water. Don't swallow it, just rinse your mouth out. And then spit it out. And then you'll see the difference, because it's the alkaline attacking the acid. Because a lot of things that are disease, especially on skin, are going to be acid based, and obviously the alkaline will attack it. So I'm not saying, that's what I do. If you want to try it, go ahead. And
your spots have cleared up lovely.
My spots, my teenage spots have cleared up lovely. It doesn't work on my hair though. I'm trying to get my hair back, but it won't come back. And you know what? I'm there. I'm closing my eyes and I'm thinking, I'm manifesting hair in my head. And it's just not happening.
It's coming out of everywhere else to bar your hair or your head.
Exactly, yeah, it does. It's amazing how, as you get older, the hair comes out of your ears and everything else, but it doesn't come out of the place that you want it to come out of. I must be manifesting wrong.
Yeah, you need to manifest a little higher up.
Yeah.
Because that's actually true. I mean, when you're kind of going, you're losing it off the head, and then it's appearing in the ears. You're kind of going, what the?
It's like that. It's like that Last American Hero TV program in the 80s where he lost the instruction manual to the Sioux, and he just couldn't fly it. It's obviously using the powers. That's going back. That's showing our age. I have that somewhere knocking about.
You do.
But so that's the news anyway. There's a lot of energy changes going on, and I did have a listen to Thomas's show on Thursday. It was quite interesting. He mentioned earth changes as well, and about the earth changing, and this is why we're experiencing a lot of things on the planet at the moment. Seems to be an awful lot of animal die-offs as well. So where it's going to go, how long it's going to take, and what the end result is, I don't know. We just have to go along for the ride. Enjoy the journey as best we can. Service to others. Keep away from negative energy as much as you can. And educate people. Use the knowledge that you have to educate people. And that's it. Love is the answer. That's it. Doesn't matter what the question is. Love is the answer. But that's it. So we have a couple of more people. We have a pre-record in the bag now by the judge. We had a good pre-record with the judge, didn't we?
That was great information. As I said earlier at the beginning of the show, what he told us, it was kind of a lot of new buzzwords that you're going to be throwing around after you hear the interview. Definitely a lot of research to be done. He's going to hit us up with a lot of the templates that he uses over there as well. So, some exciting times ahead after that interview.
Yeah, now, we did have a problem with the interview. We had a satellite link problem. It was dropping out. Satellite link problem to China. It was dropping out, and we'll remind you of that when we do the show. So we only did about an hour with him, but he still had good information, and I did massive editing on the podcast to try and make it as half decent as we can with all the issues that we had. But it's okay. You can hear it, and you can hear him talking, and it's fine. And again, we'll probably do a part 2 with him another time. He's just in China. The time zone was different, so we couldn't do a live show. So that's the plan of attack. And that will be in a few weeks' time. We'll do the podcast. Now, do you want to talk to us about the Open Mind Conference? If you just want to give a mention.
Oh, you keep doing this. Right, so I'm just going to have to wing it for a second. The Open Minds Conference. Okay,
well, what I'll do is, while you're looking for that, I just want to give people a mention again that on Facebook now, if you go to our Facebook page, click on the OYM Radio Live link, and you'll be able to hear the show on that. You don't have to go to the website. You can go on Facebook. Over to you, Steve.
Oakley. Yeah, the Open Minds Conference 2. It's going to be the 2nd to the 4th of March next year, 2018. It's going to be 3 days of truth, knowledge and awareness. A plethora of fantastic guests. There's going to be history, law and banking, natural health, empowering change, exposing corruption, mind control, expanding consciousness, yoga, meditation, shamanic drumming, and the waking up process, brought to you by yours truly. It's openmindsconference.com is the website there. You can get all the information. It is going to be in Dooley's Hotel in Waterford. We will be there also.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, so that's going to be fun and games. We did talk to Thomas there a while ago, and we said 2017. I was expecting more from 2017. Now, I know we're in October, and we've got October and November to so we've 3 months left of the year. So I don't know what's planned or what's going to be happening, but we definitely will be doing our annual review as we normally do at the end of the year, and we look back on 2017, and we'll just have to see. I don't know, I was just expecting a lot more from 2017. There's only 3 months left, but we'll see what happens.
Was it last year that the Queen, the English Queen, did she say last year was mentioned that it was going to be the last Christmas?
What, this Christmas?
No, last Christmas.
Last Christmas was the last Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay, we're near that time. From myself, Alan James, have a good week. Stay safe. Any information you have, send it in to us, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Okay, from myself, Stephen George, it's been a great evening full of information, and thanks to everyone who joined us on the 2 chat rooms, and also on the live stream as well on Facebook and all the other outlets. Just in relation to sodium bicarb, it's great for brushing your teeth, as is soot, allegedly, which a story I heard a long time ago. So did Chris on the chat room, except for he said he got his head stuck up the chimney when he tried it, so don't brush your teeth with soot. There's a warning. Anyway, we're going to hand over to Vin on People's Internet Radio, and we'll catch you all again same time next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.